Live on air, online at valleycentral.com. This is CBS 4 News at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marcy Martinez coming to you live from the Bogus Ford Event Center in the city of FAR. We are here for our town hall meeting, Your Voice, Your Future, focusing on immigration. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes, but right now I want to get you caught up on headlines that we're following tonight. First, Senators John Cornyn and Bill Cassidy are touring the border region today, focusing on border security, trade, and economic development issues crucial to this area and the nation. They were taken by helicopter and by boat along the Rio Grande to get a first-hand look of the agents' work along the border, and also got a tour of the FAR Reynosa Bridge and McAllen Border Patrol Station. Our Annalisa Ortiz is following their trip. She will have the latest for you tonight on CBS 4 News at 10. Also happening now, Starr County officials are looking to put a stop once and for all, they tell us, to illegal eight-liner operations, and they're calling it Operation Bishop West, a nod to Cameron County's Operation Bishop, as we've been reporting, aims to crack down on the criminal epidemic. Now, officials in Starr County say the establishments pocket the revenue that's coming in. None of it is going back into the cities in the county or local economy, and even target unsuspecting victims such as the elderly. So coming up tonight at 10, you'll learn more about Operation Bishop Westover in Starr County and how they plan to put an end to all of the criminal activity there. Also tonight, the number of sex assault cases has more than doubled in one valley city. San Benito police are telling us the number of rapes has gone from 12 in the year of 2014 to over 30 in 2015. Earlier this month, CBS 4 News first reported one case of a man who crawled in through a bedroom window of a San Benito home and sexually attacked a woman there inside. Chief Michael Galvan says the numbers could actually be higher because some victims fear coming forward.
International people that are from other countries here inside the city, a lot of them are afraid to come forward. They don't believe that being a victim, they think they're going to get deported.
On CBS 4 News at 10, what San Benito police are doing to curb and combat the rise in sex crimes and what you need to know to avoid becoming a victim. That's most important. Now, the city of McAllen is currently looking at possibly charging residents a drainage utility fee. Did you know public drainage issues can be very expensive for the city and its residents? That's why, in an effort to lower the amount of stormwater runoff during heavy rains, the proposed fee would help with the cost to maintain and manage the city drainage system. The fee at this time is estimated to be around $2.50.
I would have to consider supporting it. The downside is I think $2.50, up to that is quite a bit of money for people to have to pay.
The city declined to comment on the fee, saying it's too early to discuss the proposal. We invite you to check out these stories on our social media pages. We're on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll be taking questions live throughout tonight's town hall here in FAR. Use the hashtag Your Voice, Your Future, and I will update you throughout the evening with other stories we're following or any breaking news before CBS 4 News at 10 tonight. Find me on Twitter at MarcyKGBT and on Facebook.com/Marcy Martinez CBS 4. Right now, let's go back to our CBS 4 News studios and check in with the chief about the temperatures out there. Brian.
Well, Marcy, we're talking about a big temperature spike into the mid-90s by Thursday before everything falls off behind a frontal boundary. A cold front moving on in on Thursday into Friday. Futurecast shows how we are nice and warm and humid, kind of sticky, lots of clouds, maybe a couple of little showers in the morning, but otherwise Wednesday will be a partly cloudy day. Thursday, there's your wind shift coming on ahead of the front, but still the damage is done. We'll be in the mid-90s. And then by sunrise Friday, we've got that cold front moving on through, setting us up for a much cooler weekend ahead. Problem is, we're also watching a setup from upper level low pressure to make for at least a slight chance for showers this up and coming weekend. Just a slight chance, nothing too super duty. All right, the extended forecast for the weekend always in view. Again, we're talking about a major shift. We'll re-examine that shift at 10.
Thanks, Brian. And we are now ready to kick off our town hall meeting here live in the city of FAR at the Bogus Ford Event Center. You still have time to make it on down and watch live in the audience or watch online, valleycentral.com. Enjoy your evening. I'll see you back here at 10.
Live from the Bogus Ford Event Center in Pharr, Texas, CBS 4 News presents Town Hall. Your voice, your future. Immigration.
Undocumented, immigrant, alien, amnesty, illegal, rule of law, pathway to citizenship. So many terms and phrases, they inspire optimism or incite rage, depending on who says them and how they're used. Good evening, I'm Mark Hyman, host of Behind the Headlines. Thank you at home for joining us, and thank you to the listeners of our radio partner, News Talk 710 KURV. We have a great panel of experts ready to answer questions put to them by our live audience here. But they're not the only ones who get to drive tonight's discussion. You at home watching us can also be a part of this discussion. CBS 4 anchor Tiffany Huertas is manning our social media desk. She'll explain how you can be part of the discussion. Tiffany?
Thanks, Mark. That's right. A lot of questions coming into our social media on Facebook, on Twitter, using the hashtag Your Voice, Your Future. All the questions, of course, have to deal with immigration. Now, if you are on Facebook, you can go to CBS 4 Rio Grande Valley, and on Twitter, CBS 4 News, of course. And keep those questions coming. I'll be here manning the center, and we can go ahead and ask those questions to the panelists.
Thanks, Tiffany. Now, this is a town hall. It's all about getting questions asked and answered. But the first question tonight will not go to our panel of experts, but instead will go to my live audience here. I'd like you to respond to the following statement with the sound of applause. Your two choices and answers are yes and no. Please respond to this statement. Our immigration system is broken. Those who believe yes, please applaud. Those who believe no, please applaud. I want to put the same question to our panel of experts. Is our immigration system broken? If you think yes, please raise your hand. I guess I don't even have to ask the no question. Let's go right to our live audience for the first question of the evening. Sir, please tell us who you are, where you live, and what is your question?
Okay. Yes, my name is Royal Laman. I'm with the VFW Post 7473 in Elsa, Texas. A lot of service members and veterans are not citizens of the United States, but they felt that it was their patriotic duty to come across to serve for this great country. Now, how do you support, and how would you try to get these great service members and veterans citizenship?
Mr. Oliveros, Counselor, what do you think?
Absolutely, of course. I support veterans who have served this country being able to obtain a legal status and eventually citizenship. There was a case recently that was in the news here in the Valley of a veteran who came back, when he was in the service, apparently he never got the guidance necessary to get his documents in order, and when he came back, he got in some trouble with the law, and then he was being deported. He was at risk of being deported. I think that's a travesty, and that should be addressed in a way that is just. After someone risks their life for this country, they should have a right, absolutely, to at least remain in the country.
Mr. Garza, what do you think?
Well, speaking on a personal level, I can say absolutely. The fact that a man or woman has committed their service to the country and signed up for military service in some way, shape, or form does entitle them to citizenship in the United States of America. Obviously, they've by enlisting, they've exhibited their allegiance, respect, and loyalty to our country. And so I believe, by all means, that after their service, following a legal recourse, that they should be allowed for U.S. citizenship.
So, Ms. Moreira, does this mean that service members who are not legal citizens, should they have a different path towards citizenship? Should they be treated differently or treated the same as everyone else?
They should have an immediate path to citizenship. If someone has risked their life to serve our country and to protect their citizens, there should be no waiting line for them because they did not wait to serve for us. There should be an immediate path to citizenship for people that serve their country.
We're back to the live audience. Please tell us who you are, where you live, and what is your question?
Hi, my name is Beatriz. I'm from Edinburgh, Texas. I'm just a concerned citizen. My question is about inhumane deportation programs in private detention centers. Should the local government hold illegal immigrants on ICE detainers at the risk of losing state funding?
Mr. Brand, what do you think?
If I understand your question with ICE and how they deal with the families.
Right.
I believe that part of the problem, and I think it's part of your question, is how they're treated.
Right. Yes, sir.
And one distinction I can tell you that I'm aware of is that all the unaccompanied children that come into the United States are handled by HHS and ORR. All those that come as families are handled by ICE. The biggest difference that I'm aware of is that those that ICE takes care of, they are handled by contractors that are prison companies, private prison companies. ORR has taken a different approach. They changed several years ago from prison systems and said the only people that are eligible to participate in the program and assist us are faith-based organizations. They have a totally different attitude, a totally different approach. If you go to one of those facilities, there are no locks on anything. The children most of them are very happy just to be there. 3 hot meals and a bed to sleep in. So I think the way they're treated and how they're dealt with is between the two is totally different. I think that is a problem because the prison system, a prison private company, has a different attitude about how they handle people.
Mr. Brand, a quick follow-up then. Who's responsible? Who should take charge? If we want to see uniformity at how people are treated, whether it's this way or that way, who's ultimately responsible to make certain that happens?
Well, obviously we all know it's the federal governments right now. They're the ones that have taken that responsibility. I do believe that there are discussions of trying to adopt a different approach because of all the way ICE has handled the families as we all know over the last couple of years. And I think that move is where I think they're going, and I think it's a wise decision to make.
Mr. Oliveros, we've been bordering other nations for a while now. So why is it we're at this point where we still don't have systems in place that at least are uniform? How is it that we don't seem to have a policy that's the same in one jurisdiction versus another, federal versus state or local?
Well, the immigration policies and laws are federal, and those apply equally throughout the country. I think even though we've been bordering Mexico and Canada for a few years now, the different immigration waves and immigration phenomena that have happened throughout the years have led to immigration reform that have been responsive to those phenomena. So I think that's why over the years the rules have changed from time to time. But right now it's a federal law. So if when you talk about jurisdiction, if I understand your question correctly, the federal laws apply the same throughout the country.
Well, and I wanted to follow up on some of the comments Mr. Brand made because as Mr. Brand points out, there are differences in the way certain entities are treating those who are detained, and it varies depending on where they could be incarcerated or detained or enclosed. Why isn't the system uniform? In fact, let me go with Ms. Moretta here, bring her into the conversation. It seems that we're reactive to the immigration issue as opposed to being proactive. Do we need to kind of break this whole thing down and take a look at how we handle these situations so that there's some uniformity in how people are treated, the laws are enforced the right way or changed or whatever needs to happen?
Absolutely. I think that the system as we have now, our immigration system, is built to serve a specific kind of people. It's built for certain qualifications. It's built to allow a certain kind of immigrants into our country. If you do not meet those recommendations or qualifications, your treatment changes. If you are not in the STEM field, if you're not highly skilled or educated, irregardless of what your background is, or if you had an opportunity to become highly skilled or educated, it used to be also even your sexual orientation or the country that you came from would block you from entering the country. All of those things have changed due to on-the-ground organizing, our community speaking up and defending minorities in our country and immigrants that are coming in. In the topic of detention centers, it still continues to be that women, LGBTQ people, that's lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and especially transgender immigrants, they are at high risk of violence in detention centers. And it is really such a shame that we have a country in which people are making a profit out of detaining immigrants and filling up bed quotas. No one should be detaining immigrants and making a profit out of it. It is one thing to be detaining immigrants for public safety and to keep our country safe, and it is a different conversation that someone is increasing the zeros in their bank account detaining immigrants.
I want to bring Mr. Garza back in the conversation. I want to make certain people understand that CBS 4 doesn't have a position on this issue. We certainly just want to carry on the conversation. But let's follow up with what Ms. Moretta just said and talk about the immigration aspect, it's interesting that earlier in 2015, Congress wanted to triple the number of H-1B visas. So at one end, we say we want to bring in more of certain types of people who are immigrants, and the other end, there's some question about limiting. And whether that's right or wrong, CBS 4 is not here to say, but to an outside observer, you're sometimes struck with the impression that perhaps there isn't a solid overall immigration plan in place. Does that seem like a reasonable observation?
Well, I think what we've seen over the last 2 decades and certainly over recent years is inaction by the federal government on comprehensive immigration reform. We've seen that, you know, the current administration, the first 2 years of the administration had full control of one political party in both the House and the Senate and the U.S. Congress and failed to even address the issue. And so what we've seen is that that the White House has, in large regard, used executive action to provide short-term solutions to immigration that are not sustainable, that are not long-term, and that really don't address the issue, the broader issue. You know, you talk about detention centers, but we, got to focus on the broader issue of immigration, that it hasn't been addressed, and unfortunately, it's been used as a political ploy by both parties, and nobody's acted on it. It seems that every election year, something comes around, and immigration is the top of the issues. And the Hispanic community across the United States has been adversely affected by it. And so in regards to, being a border state in Texas, it's near and dear to our hearts. We see it every single day. Many of us have families that are immigrants, from Central American countries and mostly Mexican-American immigrants here in the state of Texas. And so obviously it's an issue that needs to be addressed by Congress, working together with both parties and the president to finally enact something that provides a long-term solution, sustainable solution to reform, where we no longer have to deal with public and private entities dealing with detention centers or whatnot, the influx of the border. And in regards to the economy, there needs to be a free market-based approach to immigration where the employer and the employee have a relationship. Obviously, the federal government has failed to enact and to enforce federal immigration laws. That is their primary responsibility. In Texas, our own governors have had to act on that. But a worker visa program that allows a free flow of immigrant labor based on market forces is really the key approach to immigration reform.
We have a lot of great questions so far in the first 10 minutes of the discussion. Before we get back into the discussion, though, we've got to pay the bills here at CBS 4. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back. Please stay with us.